Hey basketball fans, the season is about to get started and so is this video, but before I get into today's top 10 lineups, I want to make sure you have subscribed so that you don't miss a single thing during the NBA season, which starts on December 22nd. So if you haven't already, go ahead, scroll on down, hit that big red button and subscribe. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell to make sure you don't miss a single video we're putting out all season long. Basketball fans, today we're getting into my top 10 starting lineups for the 2020-2021 NBA season. It has been a wild offseason. Anthony Davis just re-signed. We're going to talk about him later in the show a little bit. But right now, we're going to get into my top 10. Remember, this has nothing to do with the overall team. We're not talking about their bench or the depth of the team. We're talking solely about the starting fives and who I have in my top 10. So let's start off with number 10, the Phoenix Suns, who have completely revamped and changed their team this offseason as they went out and traded for Chris Paul. Now they bring in Jay Crowther, who I believe will start at power forward. But remember, all of this is a little bit subject to change throughout the year. But if Jay Crowther doesn't start, maybe it's Cam Johnson because they really liked him at the 4. I am a huge fan of Mikal Bridges. In fact, I think he is very, very close to making an all-defensive team in his career. Devin Booker, of course, being the player that he is and now playing with a legitimate playmaker in Chris Paul is going to completely change that team. And in all honesty, a guy that has become completely underrated in the NBA is DeAndre Ayton because he was a number 1 pick in a draft that was absolutely stacked. But he's still an 18-10 guy, and now playing with Chris Paul, he is going to benefit a ton. I've got the Suns at number 10. At number 9, it's the Portland Trail Blazers, who top to bottom are really, really strong in this starting 5. And I know you see Robert Covington in there because reporters come out of training camp in Portland that Carmelo Anthony will come off the bench and play their 6-man role. Now, maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Melo start over Zach Collins at the 4 at times, and they go with a bit of a bigger lineup of Robert Covington, Nurkic, and Melo up in the front court with, of course, what I think is one of the best backcourts in the NBA in Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. But if we're being honest with ourselves, Robert Covington is better for this team than Melo is in the starting 5, and that is one of the reasons this team is so freaking strong. Last note here about the Blazers. Remember, they weren't healthy for much of the year last year. Now they get 100% of Yusuf Nurkic. I've got the Blazers in at number 9. Now, you saw my number 9 and my number 10 teams. They're not the worst teams in the NBA or the worst starting 5s in the NBA. In fact, obviously, I think they're pretty darn good. So what I want you guys to do is get down in the comment section and let me know who you think has the worst starting lineup in the entire league. Top to bottom. Don't just give me, just because they have one bad player in the lineup. No. The worst starting 5 in the entire NBA. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. Who is it? Let me know in the comment section. Now let's get to the Dallas Mavericks, and I have them at number 8 right now. This team is a little bit deeper than they were just last year, but the problem that I do have with them, the reason I don't have them a little bit higher, is that center position, Dwight Powell. I don't know what we're going to get out of him this year after coming off the Achilles surgery, but the Mavs did address a lot of needs with this team by getting Josh Richardson in a trade and getting James Johnson, who I think you could see start as well. And another reason that they are higher than some of these other teams is their third option, Tim Hardaway Jr., is a legitimate third option now in Dallas and shows that he knows how to score the ball. But everything with the Mavericks depends on Kristaps Porzingis' health. If he is healthy, this is a top 4 team in the Western Conference. If not, I don't know where they're going to fall. But when you have a top 3 MVP candidate in Luka Doncic in your lineup, who makes everybody, and I mean everybody, better around him, you immediately jump up to number 8 on my list. And if you are a Dallas Mavericks fan, oh boy, do I have some good news for you. We have an All Things Mavs channel where we're talking all things Dallas Mavericks all the time. So hit that subscribe button over there if you haven't already. YouTube.com/allthingsmavs. The best Dallas Mavericks coverage on YouTube can be found at All Things Mavs. Let's stick with the Western Conference team here at number 7, the Denver Nuggets. And the reason I have them a little bit above the Mavs is because I think Jamal Murray is going to take a huge step forward. I think we'll see him play somewhere between what he did in the regular season and the NBA bubble. And if that's the case, you have another all-star on your hands. Plus, Michael Porter Jr., 100% healthy, who showed enough promise. I really love him. Nikola Jokic, I think, is the best center in the NBA, and he's only going to come back in even better shape than he already was. Maybe Gary Harris starts. I could also see Will Barton slotting in there, and them keeping Gary Harris as sixth man. And then Paul Millsap, obviously it's a downgrade from having Jeremy Grant in the lineup, but this team is really strong, and they have really a lot of versatility as well, with a great point guard, but also their center kind of being their point guard and an offensive wing in Michael Porter Jr. Now, whoever you're a fan of, Fanatics has an awesome deal for you for their jerseys at chatsports.com/NBA jerseys, where these uniforms are up to 25% off. Go get yours today so you can rep your favorite team or your favorite player, since the season is right upon us. I'm pretty sure the preseason starts December 11th. December 11th! That's right around the corner. And if you don't have a jersey of your new favorite player on your new favorite team, you got to go get one today at Fanatics. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. That's the best place to go to find all the greatest deals on all things NBA jerseys. A lot of other NBA gear is available there as well, but I wanted to mention this deal specifically for you NBA fans at chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. Let's get into my number 6 team, the Boston Celtics. Again, like the Dallas Mavericks, the only question I have with them is the man in the middle. Maybe it's Tristan Thompson, maybe it's Daniel Tice, and at the start of the season, they won't have any Kemba Walker until January. But the rest of the guys around that team, when you have two guys that can put up 20 points per game on a regular basis in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, plus Kemba Walker when healthy, plus who I believe is a top 3 defender in Marcus Smart, this team deserves all the recognition in the world for being a great starting 5. They're also very deep, but we're not getting into the depth today. We're only talking about that potential starting 5. And Tristan Thompson, I think you start him over Daniel Tice. I think it's an upgrade. And if that's the case, when healthy, this is an elite starting 5 in Boston. Something else that is elite, though, is our Boston Celtics coverage at youtube.com/CelticsTV. Brand new channel. Go check us out. Just want to make sure you guys knew about it. I tell you about our new channels. I tell you about all these deals because I care about you guys, and I want you guys to have the best NBA coverage all season long. youtube.com/CelticsTV is where you can get that Boston coverage. Let's get into the top 5 with the Miami Heat at number 5. Goran Dragic returning. I think he returns as a starter. Tyler Hero, I believe, will be starting right off the bat. Of course, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are no-brainers. Now, they could have a little bit of variation here. Myers Leonard started most of the regular season, but he didn't start as much during the bubble. We saw more Duncan Robinson with Bam in the middle. And honestly, that works just as well. And if that's the case, you could see them even higher on this list. But I'm going to keep them at 5 for right now. Maybe Eric Spoelstra plays with that starting 5 a little bit. But the team coming out of the Eastern Conference last year is only going to be just as strong. The losses of Derrick Jones Jr. and Jay Crowder definitely hurt them a little bit. But they did really well in replacing them with guys like Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. Let's go to number 4, the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, it's not as strong as it was last year, but it's pretty darn strong. Pat Bev is still in the backcourt. He's running the point, although they'd like to upgrade the point guard position. PG, you stick him at the 2 guard with Kawhi at the 3. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard alone could get a lot of teams into the top 5 of the starting 5. And Marcus Morris, yes, hell yeah, they overpaid for him. But still puts up 17 points per game. And that's worthy of a spot in the starting 5 and a spot in my top 5 on the starting 5 lineups. Now, listen, remember, they also have Ibaka who could start on some nights, and I think Lou Williams could be inserted into the starting 5 as well. This is what I think we'll see on night 1. However, there's been a lot of turmoil in the Clippers system. So is it time for the Clippers to blow it up? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think they're going to ride out this year, and then I think you could see some real shakeup in that starting 5 and watch Kawhi Leonard just waltz his way out of another city in Los Angeles and head who knows where else this next time. Plus, Pandemic P, I don't know if you want him bringing stuff around in Los Angeles, but let me know what you guys think. Is it time for the Clippers to blow it up, yes or no? Let's get to my number 3 team, the Milwaukee Bucks, and honestly, I kind of wanted to put this team higher just because I'm really, really loving the addition of Drew Holiday, but I think 3 is more than adequate for this team. They obviously take a little step back with Dante DiVincenzo probably starting at the 2 guard, but this could be a year where he takes a little bit of a leap, and maybe it's not so much a step back. Plus, you have 2 All-Stars in Chris Middleton and Giannis. And now in the Eastern Conference, I think we could see Drew Holiday get a All-Star nod as well. That team is super, super strong. I still love what Brook Lopez brings to the team. Sure, the Bogdanovich trade falling through hurt them a little bit, but all in all, that Milwaukee Bucks team is so well-rounded, and a team that was already good on defense got even better by upgrading from Eric Bledsoe to Drew Holiday. So yeah, I'm high on the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think this is a top 3 starting lineup in the NBA. At number 2, some new faces in a new place. The Brooklyn Nets have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. They bring back Joe Harris. I think Jarrett Allen needs to be the starting center. Forget about DeAndre Jordan. He's old. He's washed. And Karis LeVert in at the 2-guard position, who took a huge step forward as a playmaker inside the NBA bubble. Now, the reason they're at 2 is simply because KD and Kyrie are incredible, and they have incredible complementary players around them in Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, and Jarrett Allen. But so much of this team and so much of this starting lineup depends very heavily on their health. And if they are not healthy, if they're not at least, 75% healthy, they could take a huge dip backwards. But in all, this is a strong team. Now, you've seen 10 all the way down to 2. You haven't seen the number 1 team. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm not sure you're truly an NBA fan, or maybe you're just not subscribed to the channel, whatever it may be. But whoever you think I have at number 1, whoever you would have at number 1, let me know in the comment section who has the best starting lineup in the NBA. And of course, at number 1, it's the NBA champions that only got better. 2 top 5, top 6 players, however you want to spin it, in the NBA in one lineup was already good enough. And then you go out and get the runner-up for 6th Man of the Year in Dennis Schroeder. And you get one of the best passing big men of all time in Marc Gasol starting in the middle. And you bring back Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Again, these lineups have nothing to do with their depth, but this team is just as deep on the bench as they are in the starting 5. Dennis Schroeder wants to be a starting guard. Maybe he won't start, but I think he should. And if you start him at the guard position, you're sitting pretty with him, LeBron, and AD as your top 3 scorers. KCP and Marc Gasol also playing as complementary players. That Laker team is stacked. And if you want to know a little bit more about the Los Angeles Lakers and what their season is going to look like, this link right here is going to tell you all you need to know. YouTube.com/LakersTV. Make sure you subscribe, where you can get even more of my Lakers coverage on a regular basis. But good Lord, that Lakers team is strong, and they're only getting stronger. Now, they could also switch things up too, right? Montrezl Harrell, maybe you see him start some nights. Maybe you see Wesley Matthews start some nights. Maybe Kyle Kuzma takes that next step. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, if LeBron and AD are in the starting 5, that's the best lineup in the NBA. And as long as they're healthy, that's all that matters. So you saw all 10 of my picks. You saw my entire list. I revealed it all to you. So let me know, what teams am I too high on? Or what teams is Hater Jimmy hating a bit too much on? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you next time.